What's going on, y'all? It's your man, Stephen Bardo, coming at you with another edition, a taped edition of Bardo's Breakdown. I've got to catch a flight to Philadelphia in a couple hours. I've got the Milwaukee Bucks at the Sixers tomorrow night. Ought to be a great one. So wanted to give you all something that you could look at. I encourage you guys to comment amongst yourselves as you watch this recording. I'm sorry I can't be with you, but duty calls, and so does Greenbacks. Oh, excuse me. So hope everybody's doing well. Final Four is all set. Great time of the year. In my opinion, Final Four, one of the best, all of March Madness, but the Final Four in particular is one of the best sporting events ever. And so, pardon me, all the teams are set and we're ready to go. So let's kick it off here. In the first game, Kansas, number 1 seed Kansas versus number 2 seed Villanova. That'll be at 6:09 Eastern Standard Time on Saturday, April 2nd. So you guys make sure you set your calendars and your DVRs for that particular time. I think this is going to be an interesting game. We'll get into who I think is going to, win and whatnot and what to look for. So that's the first matchup. The second matchup, and this might be one of the biggest Final Four games ever. You have a legend in Coach Mike Krzyzewski of Duke. This is gonna be it. This is either this game and the championship game will be his last games ever coached. And so when you look at UNC versus Duke, the fact that UNC really pounded Duke in that last regular season meeting at Cameron Indoor Arena. And then, the natural rivalry between Duke and North Carolina is always there. It's probably the top rivalry in all of college basketball. But then you add on the layers of North Carolina really catching fire at the end of the season and playing their best basketball. They're definitely not playing like a number 8 seed. Hubert Davis doing a fantastic job. And then you've got, all the stuff with Coach K, the diaper dandies that are coming of age, playing well with Banchero, Williams up front, just a formidable front line. Jeremy Roach has really upped his game at the right time. Just so many storylines in this one. It's going to be a fantastic game. Might be the most watched Final Four game in history, I think. So it's going to be interesting. So let's get into the storylines of each team before I give you my predictions. So very unfortunate that Justin Moore, Villanova's second leading scorer, tore his Achilles tendon at the end of that Elite Eight victory over Houston. So that's going to be huge for a Villanova team that already really struggles with depth. They really only play 6 or 7 players. So Caleb Daniels, who's going to be forced into the starting lineup, he was the guy that really played the majority of the role of the bench minutes for Villanova. That will affect Villanova's depth. They'll need someone else to step up, and they really can't get in foul trouble now. That's been something that they've been able to avoid throughout the tournament. But when you are up against a Kansas team that really comes at you a lot of different ways, Justin Moore's loss for Villanova is going to be huge. Now, 2-time national champion coach Jay Wright, if there's a coach that can figure out a way to overcome his loss, Jay Wright would be it. But that's going to be interesting, and that's very unfortunate because this young man has really made himself into an outstanding player, Justin Moore has. And the fact that he's not going to be in the Final Four and be able to go for a national championship with his brothers in arms is really unfortunate. So, my condolences go out to Justin Moore because that's a huge blow, and it's got to be very disappointing for he and his teammates. So that's going to be a storyline that will be talked about throughout the week leading up to the Final Four. Then North Carolina, I mentioned it earlier, they got hot, man. Caleb Love dropped 26 in the second half. 26 in the second half against UCLA. UCLA, one of the better defensive teams in the country. And a Sweet 16 matchup, man, he just caught fire. North Carolina, Davis has been outstanding all tournament long. Brady Manick, the 6'9" transfer from Oklahoma, has been outstanding. So North Carolina really is catching fire at the right time. They had a slow start to the year. I remember Purdue beat them. There's no shame in that. They had some early losses that really kind of took them out of the national picture. And Hubert Davis has done a masterful job of getting these guys to play their best at the right time. So that'll be something to watch out. You'll see a lot of stories talking about, personal stories about Brady Manick, where he came from, and his ascension, Caleb Love's ascension. Davis is playing extremely well. Baycott has been a stalwart all season long. So watch for these stories to come out, and watch, for these storylines that show that North Carolina really caught fire at the right time. For Kansas, Remy Martin was a transfer from Arizona State. Remy Martin averaged 19 points in the Pac-12. Now, his numbers this year, 8.8 points per game scored, are not reflective of him. He was hurt all year long, and now he's healthy. He's come off the bench. I think he dropped 20 against Davidson. He had 18 in another matchup. I think it was a first-round matchup for Kansas. So he's really giving Kansas a huge boost off the bench. And his ability to score, along with Oshay Abaji, the All-American two-guard, McCormick up front, Christopher Brown had a great game against Miami with a dunk and a three-pointer that really got them going. So Kansas, Remy Martin, to me, is the biggest story because he's the biggest X factor if Kansas wants to win the national championship. But he's catching fire at the right time. And then, of course, you got Coach K. The young Dukies are trying to send Coach K out with a chip. And boy, have they saved their best for last. They've saved their best basketball at the right time, really peaking at the right time. Banchero is showing you why I think he's going to be the number one pick in the NBA draft, in the upcoming NBA draft. Some people have Chet Holmgren from Gonzaga, the number one pick. Some people like Jaden Ivey even as the number one pick. I like Pablo Banchero. He and his teammates are really doing a fantastic job, and they are trying to send Coach K out the right way. So watch out for that. And let me put this up here. There's a lot of ways to join the inner circle of Bardo's Breakdown. One, you can text 312-869-2739. Oh my goodness, I messed that up. 312-847-2739 is the number. If you want to be on the inside group, there are text messages that I will send every now and then. I don't do it very often, so I won't inundate you. But if you don't want to be a part of the tribe, inner portion of the tribe that way, you can also join the newsletter, which I haven't really been pushing that much, but you can sign up for the newsletter. There are about 525 people that get a newsletter, email from me every week. I know that our Facebook group, we're a middle-aged group. We kind of still like newsletters. So if you want to join the Bardo's Breakdown newsletter, send me a message on Bardo's Breakdown page, or you can go to my personal profile. Just send me a message and say that you want to be a part of the newsletter, and I will add you to the newsletter that you'll get each week. We'll do this throughout the year. We do it in the off season as well. So if you want to be a part of the newsletter, sign up for Bardo's Breakdown newsletter today. So here are my picks. I'm going to go through my picks quickly and why, and then I'm going to come to another topic that Big Ten basketball fans really want to get into. So let me go to my picks. I like Kansas beating Villanova. Now, if Justin Moore was playing, this is how important I think he is to what Nova's doing. Justin Moore would really round out what Villanova likes to do. Without their second leading scorer, it's going to be hard for me to see Villanova being able to slow down a Kansas team. Like I said, Abaji can hit you for 20. McCormick is a serious post presence for Kansas that does a pretty good job of passing out of double teams. That's the only way I think Kansas is going to be able to stay out of foul trouble, if they can double team McCormick in the post. And he does a good job of kicking out. You got Brown on one wing, Abaji on the other. Harris has been steady. DeJuan Harris, their point guard, he's been steady. Doesn't wow you with what he does. Doesn't wow you with a lot of things. Just a very good security point guard. I just like Kansas in this matchup. It's going to be tough for Villanova without being full strength. They're already depth challenged, and so it's going to be interesting. Jay Wright will have a game plan now. It won't be a blowout, I don't think, but I just think Kansas will have too much. I like them advancing. I just think from a Hollywood script standpoint, you can't write this any better for Duke and Coach K. I know that North Carolina is playing great, but Big Ten fans will remember this. Illinois and Michigan in 1989 played 3 times. Illinois in the first 2 games smacked Michigan by double figures. The last game in the Final Four, Michigan made the necessary adjustments. Glenn Rice was hot. Sean Higgins got the tip in at the end of the game, and Michigan advanced versus Illinois to go on to beat Seton Hall in overtime to win the national championship. I happen to think that the same scenario sets up very well for Duke right now. I just think there's so much positivity, well wishes. Hey, we have a rallying theme. Send K out with a championship. I just think it's too much for North Carolina to overcome, as well as they're playing. I like Duke in a very close one, down to the wire. I like Duke to advance past North Carolina. And I'm going to save my national championship pick for Monday, because I'll be coming on Monday before the national title game. So I'll save my pick for that one. But I like Kansas to advance past Villanova. I like Duke to advance past North Carolina. Now, a topic that a lot of Big Ten people, and I was asked to cover this, so I thought, why not? Where does the Big Ten Conference rank among Power 5 conferences? And the thing that I think really puts college basketball fans at a disadvantage is that the people that put out the national storylines, as college basketball unfolds, starts out in November, comes into December, gets hot and heavy in January when conference play starts. Conference play starts, stories emerge, teams emerge. You start to see different patterns, right? And then what really kicks it, college basketball into gear is after the Super Bowl, the casual fan jumps in and looks at storylines leading up to March Madness so that they can get their brackets right or their picks right. And then it happens, it's been happening a lot lately. The national narratives around these different conferences, they're totally wrong. They've been totally wrong the last 3 or 4 years, especially the last 2 seasons, this one and last season, where the Big Ten gets all this love nationally, right? Now, you get it. Big Ten Network, Fox, ESPN, CBS. Big Ten gets a lot of coverage because they're ratings bonanzas. The Big Ten fan base is strong. The Big Ten Conference has led the nation in attendance for 40 consecutive seasons, I believe. I think it's up to 40 now. It might be more than that. So the storylines send, in my opinion, the wrong message about what's really happening, because it was said this year that the ACC was really down. All the ACC, they're down. Florida State's down. Virginia's down. North Carolina State down. Syracuse was not particularly good this year, right? So these storylines that the ACC is really down clouds people's judgment when it comes to March Madness. And so the people on the tournament selection committee they're as influenced as we are. Now, they may do a little bit more research. They may watch a lot of games from different conferences around the country to be more informed, but they're influenced as well. And so the national narrative was, oh, wow, the Big Ten got 9 teams in. But what did the Big Ten do? So for me, as a former Big Ten player, as a college basketball analyst that covers the sport pretty in depth, I would prefer to see less teams in March Madness, but put the teams in that have a chance to advance, right? And I think what happens, my brother, Craig Bardo, brought up a very interesting point. He says that with the Big Ten Conference getting so many teams in, that they get placed in very difficult matchups because there's so many teams that they have to slot in to these 68 slots. So maybe if there were less teams, they may be seeded better and not have as difficult matchups, right? When I think of Illinois the last two seasons, I knew that last year when the seedings came out, Illinois was the number 1 seed, and they put Loyola in as a number 8. I knew Illinois was in trouble. I just knew it. This year, when I saw Illinois' draw, and there was a matchup with Houston in the second round, I already knew that's a difficult matchup for Illinois, right? So, where does the conference rank in the other Power 5 conferences? Well, the ACC got 3 teams, ladies and gentlemen, to this year's Elite 8. And so when you rank conferences, I'm more apt to take into consideration March Madness as a better barometer of where conferences rank. So if we're looking at the Final Four right now, the Big East has a representative, and the Big East is typically not thought of as a Power 5 conference. But in basketball, we probably should say Power 6, because I think the Big East is a power conference in basketball. So the Big East is represented. The ACC has 2 teams represented, and the Big 12 has a team represented. Now, arguably, if you were to look over the last 5 seasons, who has a national championship? Villanova's got a national championship. Virginia has a national championship. Let me think. Last year, so in the last 5 years, Villanova, Virginia. Wow, why am I drawing a blank here on the last 5 national championships? Needless to say that every other conference, when you look at it, the Big East, the ACC, the Big 12 is what the Pac-12, right? The Pac-12 does not have a chance, but they've gotten to the Final Four with UCLA. So when you look at it, the Pac-12 and the Big Ten are the teams that really have not had a national championship in recent memory, right? So when you take that into consideration, the Big Ten, to me, would have to be below, in the last 5 years, the Big Ten would have to be below. I would probably put the Big 12 first. I'd put the ACC second. Then I would probably put, I'd give the Big Ten a slight edge over the Big East, because the Big East outside of Villanova really hasn't had that much success. They haven't had teams that really have advanced far outside of Villanova. Providence got to the Sweet 16 this year, which was a great run for them, but Seton Hall hasn't really advanced. UConn now back in the Big East didn't advance this year. Georgetown, they were abysmal in their conference, so they weren't even in the dance. They wouldn't have been in the dance last year had they not had a Cinderella run through the Big East tournament. So when I rank them, I look at it like this. I go the Big 12, 1, the ACC, 2. I give a slight edge to the Big 10 over the Big East, 3, Big 10, 3, Big East, 4, Pac-12, 5, and who am I missing? Who am I missing? Big 12, ACC, Big 10, Big East, Pac-12. I guess that's it. No, I'm missing somebody. I guess I'm drawing a blank, y'all. But that's where I would rank the Big Ten conferences. Sorry about that. That's where I would rank the Big Ten conferences. Let me get this together. 1, Big 12, 2, ACC, 3, Big 10, 4, Big East, 5, Pac-12. Let's do it like that. How about that? So that's where I would rank the conferences into, Big mistake. Big mistake. That's why I couldn't get it together. The SEC's got to be in there because Arkansas has had a heck of a run. Kentucky's been, although they stubbed their toe a couple times here recently, they've been a stalwart in terms of national championship talk. So that's where that's where my mind was going blank. So let me do this again. I would say Big 12 1, ACC 2. I would say I'd say Big 10 3, SEC 4, Big East 5, Pac-12 6. There you go. Got to get the SEC in there. I put the Big 10 slightly ahead of the SEC, and I put the SEC slightly ahead of the Big East. Okay, so now I got it. I got my bearings clear about me. 1 is Big 12, 2 is ACC, 3 is Big 10, 4 is SEC, 5 Big East, 6 Pac-12. There you go. So for those that I'd like to hear your rankings. So I'm going to go back and look at the comments, and I'll answer your question. But I'd love to hear your rankings and where you think the Big 10 ranks among the Power 6 grouping of conferences. Let's see. And then I guess the last thing we got here, ladies and gentlemen, is story time with Stephen. I had a great time yesterday. I want to talk about this event that I did. I was hired to do a meet and greet sort of thing at the United Center around the Kansas-Miami Elite Eight game. And so the Kettle One Club was rented out by On Location. It's this company that does these events around the NCAA tournament. Fantastic event. They had food, they had drinks. It was a nice setup. You can go on my Instagram stories and Facebook stories to see. I posted through there. I did a live. I did a Bardo's Breakdown live from there yesterday. If you didn't catch that, go back and check it out. It's about 10, 12 minutes, but it's pretty cool. I kind of show you everything. But it went well, and I got some great questions from the people that were there because a lot of times in these meet and greets, they kind of want you to sit up there and talk and talk about yourself and your experience and things. But what I like to do, I wanted to have more of a discussion because I don't want to sit here. Like when I go to those type of things, I generally like to have more of a discussion than sitting up listening to somebody talk for 20 minutes. I think you get more out of it because people get their questions answered. It's more discussion. So it was some great questions. Like one question this guy, Joe, asked, he said, what percentage are players and what percentage are coaches in terms of the success at the college level? And what's the difference between the college and the NBA level? I thought that was a fantastic question that I've never heard before. And so what I said in college, it's kind of a 60-40 split between 60 being players and 40% being coaches. And I said the NBA level is probably more like 80-10 or 80-20. So 60% players, 40% coach in the success of a college basketball situation, in the success of a college basketball team. I think it's 80%, 20% at the pro level. I really do. I think coaching is obviously important because you've got to have a strategy. You got to have a game plan. You got to manage your guys. You got to manage the minutes. You got to manage egos. So yes, the coaches are still important, but the players rule a lot more in my mind in the NBA than even in college. So that was a great question. Several great questions. Got a chance. They had a championship replica trophy with a backdrop. So I was able to take a lot of pictures with the people that attended. It was a great time. And I love doing events like that because, people really I like to get specific. And I'm very forthcoming. I'm not politically correct. I say some things that might ruffle feathers, but y'all know that that's my personality. So that's what it was. Great time. I got 2 tickets. I got my buddy Theo came with me. He was there at the event, and we got a chance to go out. Had great tickets for the game. Just a great time with On Location and Paul Corliss. Thank you very much. So that's story time with Stephen. I'm going to wrap it up, guys. I want you to comment on what you saw because I'll go back and answer your questions. Comments among each other with what you've seen. And I'd love to hear your comments. Again, I had to tape. I'm sorry, but I got to catch a flight in 2 hours now. So thank you for watching Bardo's Breakdown. Love you guys. Enjoy the week leading up to the Final Four. And if you have any questions, hit me up. I might come in and do some things that I hear. If there's some storylines that emerge, if some other coaches around the country at some of these bigger programs come on, I'll jump in real quick and let's do it. But thank you so much for tuning in to Bardo's Breakdown. You guys have a great rest of your day. And until next time, holla, y'all.